Hello, hello. Welcome to another conversation lesson. This is number 40, I think we had already. Well, let's get right to it. Gonna open our Ingu website that we always use. And as I always mention, you guys can come here with a friend or by yourself, read through some of these articles, learn some vocabulary. They've got a lot of free material that you can use. So let's see, what shall we do? Let's take this new one. So youth substance use may have decreased in pandemic. Okay, more advanced one. So let's look first at our vocabulary. As I always mention, I'm going to read through it. I'd like you to hit pause after each word, read it out loud, make sure you got the pronunciation down. If you're not sure about the definition of a word, these are level 8 words already. You can just type it in Google as well, associate and meaning, and they'll give you all the different contexts that you can use that word in. Or easier way is just use Google Translate. Type associate in Google Translate, and it'll give the translation into your native language, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, this is what it is. All right, so let's start. Associate. To connect two things in one's mind, to be connected with something. I always used to associate Christmas with winter until I moved to Australia. They have another sentence for us. Smoking is closely associated with many serious health problems. Okay. Then we've got substance, a drug, especially one that is illegal. The report showed that substance abuse among young adults increased during the COVID-19 pandemic. I thought they just said it decreased. Well, let's see. We're going to find out in the article. Next one, feature, to include something as a special or important part. The exhibition featured abstract paintings by several artists from the 80s and 90s. Next one, conclude, to decide that something is true using reason. The study concluded that the drug has no effect on the female reproductive system. And then we have protective, intended to keep someone or something safe, having or showing a desire to keep someone or something safe. Workers on site must wear protective equipment at all times. Another one, my mom was always really protective of me, even when I was a teenager. Then we have dysfunction, abnormal or unhealthy functioning in a system, organ, etc. The research examined the effect of family dysfunction on children's well-being. Okay, let's get right to our article. Again, I'm going to read the whole article straight through. You can hit pause after each little paragraph and read it out loud. Make sure you get the pronunciation. If not, you can just skip back a few seconds. Otherwise, if you want to wait all the way to the end, you can do that too. Whatever works best for you. So here we go. The youth substance use may have decreased in pandemic. The changes in our way of life that came during the coronavirus pandemic have been associated with a number of health issues, both mental and physical. But a review of studies focusing on substance use during the pandemic has found that this may have decreased among young people. Researchers in the US and Iceland looked at 49 studies published between 2020 and the start of 2022. Most were from North America or Europe, although studies based in Africa, Asia, and South America were also included. They featured data on the use of alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, and e-cigarettes, as well as prescription drugs and illegal substances. Many of the results were mixed, with some studies showing that use of some substances had increased, sometimes within a particular group, for example, young people who already had mental health concerns. But other studies found that things like harmful use of alcohol had decreased, along with use of other drugs. The researchers said that overall, there was enough evidence that suggests that substance use among young people had largely declined during the first 2 years of the pandemic, but they were aware that the situation was quite complex. Some studies concluded that stay-at-home orders had contributed to some decreases, although the researchers suggested that spending time at home was not always a protective factor. Although in many cases, the lack of access to substances and the fact that young people were spending more time away from friends was noted to have had an effect. It was also noted that the atmosphere was not the same in all homes. In some, the adults were using these substances themselves and sharing them with their children. In others, there was a level of dysfunction that could have encouraged youth substance use. The researchers further noted that it's not yet clear how the pandemic will affect future youth substance use and concluded that the long-term effects of the pandemic on mental health and substance use will need to be studied. Okay, well, let's go right to our discussion then. Again, I'm going to read the question. I'll answer it in the way that I would, and you can either hit pause before I answer or after. If you want to hit pause before I answer, you can give your answer, then listen to mine, see if we have similar thoughts. If you want to listen to mine first, you can listen to what I say and then add something or say you don't agree with this or you agree with that, or, kind of like a conversation. All right. So, number one, what are your thoughts on the findings of this report? Yeah, like they said in the report, they were aware that it's much more complex matter. I think there's a lot of things that can affect it. Obviously, maybe like they said, stay-at-home orders, children don't have access, or they not able to go out and get substances. Maybe their parents are at home a lot more, so they, not have that. Obviously, they can't, most households, they wouldn't be able to do it in front of their parents. So, maybe they don't have the opportunity. There's many things that could have an effect on it. Peer pressure, like they said, from friends. So many things that can contribute to this. Number two, how do you imagine the pandemic affected substance use in your country? So, yeah, in Thailand, I don't know if it affected it at all. I don't know what people use. The sale of alcohol is, in Thailand, you can only buy alcohol at certain times during the day. So there's certain hours that you just cannot buy it. But that didn't change at all because shops were open most of the time. There was a two-week period in the beginning of COVID that everything was kind of closed. But other than that, I think it was pretty normal here. In South Africa, I'm originally from South Africa. I live in Thailand. So in South Africa, I have no idea what was happening there. They had lockdown measures for a long time as well. It was but I don't know what kind of substance people would use there and, how it would have affected it. I actually have no idea. Number three, what long-term effects do you think the pandemic will have on mental health? Long-term? I don't think long-term effects, because it wasn't something dramatic. So it's not like there would be these traumatic, like if you're in war, these images that would, flash back. The only long-term effect I think the pandemic will have would be maybe on the economy. A lot of companies closed down and a lot of businesses were affected in some way or another. And if that might have an effect on mental health, people under a lot of pressure, maybe they lost their job and, there's things like that. I don't think the staying at home, I've been working online only now for the past 4 years. And even though I do believe it's not, how can I say, there are challenges to it. I think just staying at home is not good. Being inside your house all day, every day, ordering food, you don't have to go out. That's not healthy. I try and go outside every day, take my dogs for a walk, or I go run or do something where I go outside because I don't think it's good just staying inside. Um, but again, I don't think it will have a long-term effect. Maybe it will not be good in the moment, but as soon as you go back to work, you're kind of back to normal. So I don't think there will be any long-term effects. Number four, is substance use among young people a major concern in your country? In Thailand, I don't think so. I haven't heard any concern about it. There's no problem that I'm aware of. Yeah, none that I'm aware of. In South Africa, I'm not too sure. I don't think there's anything out of the norm. Young people always experiment with things and want to try something new or want to kind of rebel in some way from the parents or from authority. So you always get that kind of thing, but not that like there's a problem. I don't think so. Number five, are young people in your country more likely to drink, smoke, or take drugs now than in the past? Ugh, again, I'm not young anymore, so I don't know. I think because when I was young, people drank, they smoked, they took drugs quite a lot. And I think it's still the same now. Yeah, I think it's still pretty much the same. I don't think it's more or less. Obviously, things like marijuana is weed is now legal in a lot of countries. Just here in Thailand, they legalized it in Thailand, so you can have weed legally in Thailand. Um, so I I'm not sure if that's making people use it more or less, but I think it takes away, again, like I said earlier, a lot of younger people they want to kind of rebel from parents. So as soon as you say, if you tell somebody, oh, you're not allowed to do this, it's like, oh, I want to do this. I'll show you. But now that it's legal, it's kind of like, okay, you know, it's been legal now for a while, and I haven't gone to try it. Um, Actually, I did. There was a group of friends that they had, and I was like, okay, but I don't actually like it, to be honest with you. So maybe that's why I just haven't gone and tried it frequently. I don't like weed, to be honest. All right. Well, let's move on. I think that's still the same. Further discussion. Number one, have you made any lifestyle changes as a result of the pandemic? As a result of the pandemic, no, I did not change anything because of the pandemic. Yeah, made no changes. Which of your friends or family leads the healthiest lifestyle? Ooh, I've got a lot of very healthy friends because I used to be a professional cyclist when I was younger. So even though I don't cycle anymore and I actually have kind of an unhealthy lifestyle, a lot of my friends are extremely healthy and yeah, very, very healthy people. Um, the healthiest? Man, I have no idea who'd be the healthiest. Probably one of the cyclists that I know. I would assume they are extremely healthy. So probably one of them, but I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of my friends. Number three, are there any healthy habits you'd like to adopt? Um, I would probably I enjoy exercise, so but I need a very strict routine and I need some kind of motivation, something that's like a reason why I'm just exercising to be in good shape is like, what's good shape? If you want to be ripped and shredded to like crazy, yeah, that's great, but you cannot sustain that for, forever. So what's the goal? I want something, I need to achieve something. Like a few years back, I wanted to lose a lot of weight, and my goal was, okay, before the end of the year, I had to be 80 kilograms. And I went on like this keto diet and exercise and I lost like 20 kilograms. So, but that was a target that I set for myself and a time frame and everything. So I managed to achieve that. But if I don't have some goal, if something that something that I'm chasing, then I just find it difficult to to get in any kind of exercise routine. So a healthy habit that I want to adopt is just getting to a regular routine of exercising regularly. Yeah, that's what I want. Number 4, have you managed to give up any unhealthy habits? Um, Unhealthy habits? I mean, I enjoy eating. I enjoy eating nice food. And whenever I eat something, it's like I eat to enjoy. I don't eat, obviously it needs to be, I need sustenance, I need nutrition, but don't give me any low fat, low whatever, low sugar. Just give me the full thing to the full taste. I want to enjoy what I eat. And I'll go and exercise, to kind of keep my weight down and keep it in a reasonable range. So I haven't given up any unhealthy habits, but I don't do like drugs or things like that. So I don't have to, there's nothing that I have to give up. I live a reasonable, balanced life, you know? Yeah. Number 5, do people tend to talk openly about their mental health where you live? I don't think so. I don't think so. I I know I'm not sure in Thailand. I don't speak Thai, so I don't know if people talk openly about it here, but in South Africa, I don't think people in South Africa talk about mental health. We've more of a toughen up kind of a culture. It's like, hey, suck it up. Life's tough, get on with it. Um, so yeah. I, this is such a sensitive topic as well, because I think a lot of mental health, everybody has struggles. We all have struggles. Every person you see on the street, they have some kind of a struggle in their life. We all have something that we struggle with. I mean, look at, for example, that Twitch guy from Ellen's show. He looked like such an amazing person, and he had such a struggle that he ended up committing suicide. And and he looked so happy. He looked like a happy person, wonderful family, wonderful job. So even though that looks perfect, they have struggles. Everybody has struggles. And the more I'm, some people might be very against this, but I think the more you talk about, oh, mental health, and, as soon as somebody has a problem, they're like, oh, maybe I have a mental health problem. It's like, no, life is hard and you need to get on with it. Not saying that there definitely are people that have some kind of a mental health problem, but I think the more openly you talk about it, the more it may get misdiagnosed. So just because certain things are tough and just because you think like, oh, my life is hard or my life suck or any of these kind of things, it's like, no, you don't have a mental health problem. You might be in a slump, you might be a little bit down, but stop thinking about all these things and move on. And then tomorrow you'll see is a better day. But again, there are some people, I'm not saying all of the cases are like that, but I think the more it's openly discussed, the more it becomes misdiagnosed. Almost like I think with the ADHD, ADHD nowadays, every second child has ADHD. But when I was a kid, nobody had ADHD. Kids were just busy. They just didn't have an attention span. You gave them a hiding and they sat quietly and they kind of tried to control themselves. And this is these opinions are terrible, but this is the way that I was raised. Um, so nowadays, no kids don't get a hiding anymore, so they run around like crazy. Parents cannot control them, so that's like take them to a doctor's. Like my kid's crazy, and then the doctor's like, "Oh, take this medicine. Maybe he's got the ADHD," and then they give him the medicine. And the kid's in a trance, like, "Oh, It's like, "Oh, my child's so much better." It's like, "No, your child's drugged to the gills." You know, It's- so I don't know. Again, there are some kids that do have ADHD, but I assume it's also very Yeah, probably overdiagnosed. All right. Well, guys, that's all of the questions. I'm going to stop it there. I have a feeling that a lot of people may disagree with some of the things that I said here. If you do disagree, sure, type away. Let me know in the comments. I'm not, if you, I'm always willing to listen to other people's opinions and other people, what they think. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today. A rough topic, but we got to get through some of these. Okay. Have a good evening. See you. Bye bye.